Zenith's turn. Zenith's turn to ban.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Beyond the Summit presentation. We're going to be bringing you guys a game between Rattlesnake and Zenith here. This is going to be an interesting game, too, the best of 3 series. Rattlesnake just put on a show for us, picking up a very, very cool draft, putting Lanham on a Visage, for crying out loud, and then just laying the smackdown on Zenith. So they did kind of get a pounding, are a little bit shaken up possibly, but they need to bounce back. They need to give us a show and show why we're the ones to receive a TI3 invite directly. So we're going to see exactly what they have to prove here. Change of bans, most definitely, changing up things a little bit here to make things more favorable for them. But yeah, I'm curious to see how this game will play out with Zenith not having the first pick and them kind of taking a little bit of the info from the previous match and putting it to work here. Either way, I myself am Blaze, joined here co-caster Maruna. How's it going?
Hi, and Zenith. They're really thinking about this. I think they're a bit intimidated by Rattlesnake's aggressive play, and now they want to get the best out of this first pick. They're not going to pick Lone Druid again, they banned that themselves, so I was about to say it, Magnus is in the pool. We haven't seen it last game at all. It wasn't picked, it wasn't banned, and now they're going to first pick it and try something different. More aggression this time.
So we do have the Magnus first pick, the Shadow Demon second to respond. I kind of expected a Rubik a little bit, but I guess I'm kind of still thinking a little bit more in that Western Seed mindset, where they do love to immediately counterpick with different spell steal options and stuff like that. But Shadow Demon is still a great support to make things work. The problem is the Demonic Purge is kind of countering the carries that go with Magnus rather than the Magnus himself. So still a great lane support, still a lot of potential. Could have really worked well in the top lane. In fact, in the previous game, it did make a bunch of plays. I'd say the Disruption saved probably 2 or 3 lives throughout the course of the game easily, and on top of that just adds in a huge amount of utility. So a great first pick in general, not exactly based on the Magnus, but I'm sure they can round out their draft to make things work for them after the fact. So Shadow Demon to start off, and then they could be looking to go for just their standard tri-lane or pick up a solo for themselves as well.
I hope they're going to pick the Nature's Prophet again. I think it did a lot of them, but nope, they go for Shadow Demon Leshrac, a good combination, obviously. Disrupt the hero, stun him, kill him.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they're going to run this as support in the trial lane. Unlike some Western teams, I think QPad has done this, or the old MTW has done this in a mid lane, which is very strong against, for example, Templar Assassin.
Yeah.
Because Templar Assassin would beat any hero in one-on-one almost, and then you just put 2 heroes against her and she has a problem. But against Magnus, they're not going to put this mid.
Yeah, it doesn't have as much benefit there. Of course, they will probably roll mid at some point in time, but they want to control and make sure their carry is farming happily as well. So that's going to be a big factor there in how they start moving that direction and seeing what they can accomplish. The big thing is Rattlesnake really seems to favor this Leshrac. It was their first pick in the last draft. Now they pick it up in their first round as well. Between the SD and the Leshrac, they have that combo of the 2.5 second banish disruption and that 2 second stun with a little bit of animation delay. So timing that out perfectly means they will guarantee the split earth, and of course that means that they are going to have a lot of opportunity for follow-up damage. So all they need to really do is make that damage work. Last time we saw an Alchemist come into play, and that definitely worked in their team fights. Curious to see if that's something Rattlesnake wants to pick up as early as they did last time. And Zenith are thinking about that as well. Maybe not thinking about picking it, but thinking about if this happens to be what we're up against, how are we going to deal with it? What kind of combo? Right now, starting with the Keeper of the Light, and they're actually going to go with the Visage as well. So yeah, Visage being a player in this one. I haven't seen too much of him until today. I've seen him plenty a long while back, then he kind of fell out of favor again, and right back into the mix of things. So this is going to be pretty cool.
Rattlesnake are very uncreative today with their picks. They just pick exactly the same stuff as last game. While the Zenith this time around picks up the Keeper of the Light, was also not in the game last draft. Not banned, not picked. And now they pick it this time. They want a little bit more damage, I feel. They felt like last game they just didn't have anything to throw against the enemy, and now they're gonna pick Keeper of the Light. They do need a damage dealer still, they do need a carry, so that's gonna be Rattlesnake's turn now to ban some good carries. Obviously, Gyrocopter, Juggernaut, all the standard stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the one thing I think that's a little bit differently is, although the draft is very similar, of course, first of all, they don't have the heroes that they did. They don't have the Earthshaker or the Visage. They picked the Shadow Demon. But I actually think Lanham is considering running the Alchemist as a carry this time instead of picking up something unorthodox. So they could obviously still go the mid lane, go Alchemist versus Magnus, and that would be okay. Definitely wouldn't get nearly as shut down as he was versus the Queen of Pain. But if they wanted to, they could still have huge kill potential with the Alchemist as a carry and focusing more on that greed a little bit. Just kind of go Concoction and greed mostly, and then a little bit in Acid Spray for the armor reduction. So a lot of potential options here, but either way, what Zenith is afraid of a little bit is their flexibility. If they are willing to set an Alchemist mid and build a mechanism on them, these guys are wild cards, and there's so many different weird things that could be coming out of them with these next 2 picks. So it's difficult to ban against, but they're doing their best here, taking out the Furion, as well that Juggernaut, and the Queen of Pain. So a very, very broad mix of things. 3 different heroes banned for 3 completely different reasons, but still would be very difficult to play against, all things considered.
Whenever I see a Chaos Knight, I'm immediately looking if there is a Wisp icon in the bans, but the Asian scene's still not favoring Wisp, not at all. Have you seen a Wisp in the last month in the Asian scene?
Yeah, actually, sometime in the AMD Premier League, I think it was 2 days ago, maybe 3, but it has been picked up in a very unorthodox way, and honestly, it's shut down. It's like one thing they'd love to do. We have seen the Russians do this a little bit recently, but in general, one thing the Easterns do all the time is the one big weakness of Wisp that they consider is after he relocates, after he puts out that gank pressure, he rubber bands back, and you have an opportunity. You know where he's going to be 12 seconds later. You guarantee know it, and as long as you don't let him get a tether off to jump away really, really quickly, you can just burst him down and possibly whoever he brings back with him. So they kind of use that as a weakness where they point out that flaw and say, okay, well, it's a free kill. Even if they do pick off a kill, which hopefully they don't because you have draft mobile heroes against him, still, even if he does pick up a kill, you can immediately kill him when he returns back and kind of stop that snowball from rolling. But wow, my oh my. The Visage kind of surprised me, not only the first game, but now the second game here making a resurgence. But on top of that, a Spectre with a Keep of the Light in the lane. What the heck? This is unprecedented in my opinion. A Visage, Keeper of the Light, Spectre tri-lane, that is definitely something that I have not had the pleasure of being able to cast previously.
Spectre is a very, very situational pick these days. She's extremely strong in late game because of her damage reflection, and with that Leshrac and Alchemist and all the damage that is coming up from Rattlesnake, the supports are just going to kill themselves by attacking the Spectre. And early on, the Dagger is going to be really good to get away from some stuff because she can just run into trees. Unless there's a Clockwork who's going to cock her in.
Yeah, Rocket Flare will give vision. Of course, the Hookshot will lock in place, and they have a couple of tree breakers with probably Alchemist's Quelling Blade and that of the Split Earth as well. So they can definitely close in that position. But I believe the Spectral Dagger allows you to walk right on through the cogs. Of course, you still will get hit by them once you reach the outer perimeter, but it still will at least make sure that you're not trapped in fully. But still a great pick to try to limit her global presence and try to actually go for a Gank to play against her. The interesting thing will be what kind of build the Spectre ends up going. A lot of the teams that do pick up Spectre in the Western scene, specifically I believe Dignitas and Alliance have been the main ones, have run it where she actually focuses on Desolate more so than Dispersion, picks up maybe Drums and Yasha and those kinds of things, so she's very mobile, has a lot of pretty quick right clicks, but still has some tank on her as well, and just doing a lot of damage when heroes are all by themselves, kind of going for pickoffs there. And the ultimate, as a result, is very, very effective, because you get that, maybe get the Fusel Blade, and you do a heck of a lot of damage. So that's something to be under consideration. But on top of that, Zenith picks up the Tidehunter, and my goodness, if I had been told yesterday that this would be a lineup I'd be casting, I wouldn't have believed them. I thought that they would think they were joking. But we see a Tidehunter who has fallen out of favor just a little bit himself, a Spectre who has been considered the least presence carry in the early stages of the game. She doesn't do much at all for the laning phase. We have a Visage who has a lot of potential, but is in a lot of situations is just shut down by being focused. I mean, you get a good stun combo, Split Earth, the Concoction on top of him. The Keeper of the Light and Spectre can't do all that much for him, it doesn't feel like. And then you have Keeper of the Light and Magnus who do see play very, very frequently. So I'm curious to see how it'll play out. It's all about keeping the Visage alive, and as a result, Visage keeping Spectre alive. A little bit of piggybacking there, but certainly going to be interesting.
I'm hoping that this will be an even game, and I just realized that if you click on a spell, you get linked to a YouTube video. Wow, oops.
Yeah.
It was not on purpose. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And Zenith are taking a little bit of time with picking the last hero. So they're gonna do some strategy discussion, laning discussion, because their draft is, like you said, something you really don't see all the time. So they have a lot of possibilities. They want to surprise the enemy. Maybe they don't want to go for the standard Magnus mid, Titan to off lane, and the defensive trial lane. Maybe they want to do something special. Well, it looks like Titan just going offline because he's buying a Stout Shield, so he's most likely going to be solo somewhere. And it also looks like both teams are heading bottom, so they might meet. Who would you favor in a level 1 fight, 5-on-5?
I gotta say, of course, it is hard to lock down disables go to Rattlesnake, and I think that's going to be a big factor. If good Clockwork Cogs can separate the battle, if you can just get him like halfway in, push 2 people forward, push 3 people back, maybe the Clockwork will die, but suddenly you have the best initiation you could possibly want. So the big thing is who's going to get first blood, and that might go to Zenith, but as far as the kill advantage, I think it's definitely going to go to Rattlesnake, but we'll see right here. Acid Spray goes on down, Illuminate charging up. There's that Split Earth. There's the big battery assault going across. There's the Cog splitting everybody up. They're going to be able to pick off. Oh, Ice with a nice skewer onto Icy, salving up to survive, but it's still going to be the first blood. Drawn by Ice, dropping down Lanham, and now we're going to see a lot of damage coming out of Luo. Big tower right clicks. There's the Illuminate to try to connect. It will actually hit him, but not enough damage to actually finish it off. The right click's going the other way, hitting onto Ice. He's going to fall back from here, and I don't think they have much more to stand on. Right now, they're going to go ahead and just try to do maybe some body block and right clicks with Freedom onto Saga, but they know that they can't get a kill subsequently. So, surprisingly, 2 for 1. They bring down the Gyrocopter, they bring down the Clockwork, and all they lose is a Magnus, and he died second. So, that is very interesting how that was played out, and it came down to this choke point and how this Illuminate was positioned, hitting on everybody right there. Completely different fight as a result.
Also, if you open the item window for a second, there are 3 Stout Shields really nicely lined up on Zenith's side, and they do so much early on. I believe there was a video from the International where I think a Darkseer was just running away from the enemy team for 5 minutes and getting hit all the time, and he just didn't die because you take so little damage with that shield on.
Great point, honestly. The Stout Shield is a lifesaver in these kind of situations. So many right clicks sending on out, but they range from like 50 to 55, 60, at most 60 damage. And yeah, those blocks add up a lot, especially on, of course, putting it on all 3 melee heroes here. They're all going to get that 60% chance to get 20 block out of it, and that's a huge damage reduction. So a little bit of luck there, and of course just a good purchase. But yeah, on top of that, it was a little bit their positioning. I love the cogs and the usage of the barrage, but honestly, it gave an opportunity for Magnus to get a beautiful skewer. If the skewer hadn't happened on Icy, I felt the fight would have been a little bit different because he could have barraged maybe 3 times throughout that fight, and there wouldn't have been anything to bring him down. But because of a very clutch skewer by Ice, they were able to take that engagement by storm, and now they have some really nice lanes. Ice 1v1 versus Lanham on the top. He picked up the Clockwork here, and then we're going to see Yamate 1v1 versus Luo playing another bit of mid Alchemist, at least this time finding a few CS here, sitting at 1-0, at least for the moment. And down on bottom, that's another tri-lane versus tri-lane. How do you feel about this one?
Well, Spectre, like you said, is not the most aggressive hero early on. Visage can deal a lot of damage if there has been damage dealt, and I feel like this trial will come mostly down to positioning, because there are a lot of trees around here, and if you get caught out, then you're basically dead. And as long as both teams stay nicely back, just like they do at the moment, then there's not going to be so much happening. And it might be an Illuminate to scare off, but they might be diving in here. Rattlesnake, they want to be aggressive again. You can see it. You can see the supports just running back and forth, and they really want to get some kills. But Zenith, they're playing it smarter right now. They're staying a little bit further back, rather get one last hit less on the Spectre and getting
They're
going to
see the disruption.
There they go.
Split Earth Barrage. There's going to be a nice Illuminate to come on through, but Freedom might die first. Big damage coming out. The Soul Summon goes on to Shadow Demon. Nice burst there. They finish off the Visage. He has to go back to the base. Spectre hiding under the tower. Going to pop off a salve before actually just going to have to let the tower take a few creeps so the salve can actually get its healing potential finish. But no, that was what they were looking for to get that engagement off. They didn't want a casualty, but of course that combo, the Illuminate and that Soul Shunting together, is an amazing combo for turtling purposes. You're not always going to survive because, again, you don't have any disable under the tower, but you certainly are going to get a return kill with the amount of damage those 2 spells put out.
The problem is that both carries got the kill, but at the moment Gyrocopter, he's going to do damage and be threatening faster. So if he gets early gold, he's gonna be scary, and if Spectre gets early gold, she just needs to farm a lot and a lot more, because she's just one of these farming heroes that you see up going against a Void in a 90-minute game, and then she's just killing everyone. But right now, I'm not sure if they should take those trades.
Yeah, it's difficult. Honestly, they don't want the gyrocopter to get a ton of farm. They would hate to see like an early Shadow Blade come out for him or something along those lines. But also, I mean, Spectre's going to need that gold. She's a ticking time bomb, and she just needs to get rolling. And honestly, comparatively speaking, in the long, broader scope of the game, that little bit of gold is going to be put to a lot more use by Spectre. It's just, like you said, not at the moment. She's not making that impact right now. So she'll get some survivability, get some boots at the very least, and I've seen Tranquil boots for the most part, but we'll have to see. Either way, XY is going for a build that's pretty aggressive right here. He's not going to go in for more than just some nukes with the Spectral Dagger, but he has some points in Desolate to do some big right clicks if they do get kind of caught out, which is good because the Illuminate generally encourages people to split up a little bit. Maybe one goes north, one goes south to dodge out those horizontal ones, and as a result, that's Spectre's opportunity to close the distance and put some real hurt on.
Let's have a look at mid for a second, because I was really, when I saw the Tide Hunter against the Alchemist in mid, I was wondering if the Alchemist wouldn't completely, nice illusion rune up there on the hill, if the Alchemist wouldn't completely stomp him because of the acid cloud, but both are actually doing really fine. The Tide Hunter's bottle crowing a lot, and he's getting the equal farm, and now Alchemist is down at bottom, and they want to get a kill.
Looking for it. They don't want a disruption. They want to just go for that big stun. They do get the concoction off, and that means no return of that soul assumption. They're not going to be able to get that nuke off from the Visage, so that means, yeah, just one unrequited kill. And actually, it looks like they want to dive. They have the creep favor, and they just need a little bit of vision. The issue is Shadow Poison isn't ranked up yet, as he put his second point into Soul Catcher once more.
And the Alchemist as well, not going Revel's Greed again, so they're so aggressive, and I really like this. They don't care about GPM, they don't care about farming items first. They just know that Alchemist is strong, he has a stun that is very long, very much damage, and they just take him out of mid for a second, let the Tide Hunter farm. Yeah, well, just kill heroes. And Ice, what are you doing?
Oh my goodness, what is he doing is a very good question. He really wants Lanham, but he'd have to connect with the Skira and the Shockwave to be able to bring him down. Instead, Lanham gets his bottle, and it's perfectly fine to try to turn it around. He might go for a hookshot, but I mean, I don't know. I think he could actually do this. He only has one in Battery Assault, but the creeps are in his favor. He goes and connects it. There's the Battery Assault. There's the cogs. Unfortunately, keeping out the creeps. He can Skira on out. Doesn't get hit by the cogs here, and Ice is in a more favorable position. 3 seconds from now, he will have that Shockwave, and Ice drops the big Rocket Flare, but one more right click will go the direction of Lanham. Will it be enough? Yes, even with the block, Ice gets the kill here. And as a result, yeah, a little bit in over his head, too big for his britches. Going on in, I was almost egging him on, but when he did it, obviously it turned out to be the wrong choice. With the creeps not being inside the cogs, with the Battery Assault being only rank 1, it just didn't work out in his favor.
By the way, check out Zenith's wards.
Oh my
no,
goodness.
I mean Rattlesnake.
Yeah, Rattlesnake this time.
They're just blocking everyone. They're having vision everywhere. They really don't want to get any stacks up. They don't want to get Keeper of the Light to pull or get any farm, because Keeper of the Light is really poor right now. And they also want to have levels on him. Imagine just Spectre being able to be everywhere on the map, literally.
Yeah.
Using her own ulti, letting Keeper of the Light pull her back in, buying back, using all those spells. She can be everywhere within seconds.
Yeah.
They really have some global potential right here, so that means she can farm, she can be in a fight, she can kill everyone, just go back to farming.
Yeah.
If they get into that position where they can just kill heroes, because right now they're being the ones pressured again, because Alchemist once again took a little walk down the bottom lane, and they're scouting up with the Shadow Poison, and look at them hugging the tower.
Yeah, it's very difficult in this position because he can go on it pretty much any time. He has just thrown out the acid spray to try to force them out, but I think they're actually going to be able to stand on out of it. The creep wave not going to eat too much of it either, so going for long-term turtle, but there's that rocket flare. They know how far deep in the jungle they are. The question is whether they want to commit to it, and it looks like that's the case. Going on in, they charge up concoction. A lot of fog here, but going on in, they know exactly what Ice is. They're going to drop off this concoction right here to bring him down. Good Illuminate connects, and there is a TP of the Magnus. He does get disruption, but he still will be able to bring down Saga. We do see this ultimate come out from the Spectre as well, trying to close in to bring somebody down. It's going to be Luo that they're looking for here. He doesn't really have much to work with, so he's just going to go ahead and try to suicide here with this concoction. Actually throws it down to XY to deny himself to the tower, and no, it's going to be split among everybody here. So keep it light, Visage, and XY is going to be able to pick up the assist for that, and then that is going to be experience that entirely went to Spectre here.
Tide Hunter didn't have his Ravage. Did you see using him? Because I must have missed out on that.
Oh, RP coming under the tower. Going to be able to bring down the Gyrocopter. Nice stun coming in from Kabu. Not going to be sure if it's enough, though. That is going to be the disruption, the Soul Catcher, and that should be Ice's death with his tower damage. But he gets a return kill with a beautiful Shockwave. locking down on the Leshrac, just kind of bullseye on top of him, being able to bring him down as well. So really, really good return. But yeah, as far as Tidehunter, he did pop off his Ravage, and I honestly have no idea where he did. Land him, going for the hook shot, steals the Invis Rune, locking him down with the Battery Assault, and now he should be able to cogs him in for the kill. So yeah, doing just that, but here comes the Illuminate charging up onto Lanham. There's a Concoction to lock down Yamate. Big damage, and there's the Soul Assumption to finish off Lanham. Very, very close, and they do finish him off in the end. Luo trying to turn it around. 2 seconds on his Concoction. Demonic Purge on the Visage. Closing in on Ice Ice. Just throw it out, man. Oh, no, he's not going to get the kill. Instead, turning around in Freedom. Ice Ice, 1 right click from death, but he salves and walks away just a little bit too quick on his feet.
Alchemist is being used differently by Rattlesnake. I really have to point this out. In the Western scene, when you see an Alchemist, you're looking forward to a 1000 GPM game, but this Alchemist is just being everywhere, and he's using his spells, and he's using his early damage. He's not farming.
Yeah.
And Tidehunter hasn't done so much so far. Like I said, I don't know where his first Ravage went, but there were 2 little engagement now where he didn't have it and he couldn't use it. And in both times, it would have made a huge difference. And now, Alchemist is just popping his Rage again, just going one-on-one.
Exactly. Tidehunter has been given 2 assists, but as far as kills, he hasn't been able to find anything here, and it's difficult to go for those kind of one-on-one engagements. Even as beefy as he is, Alchemist can always make those trades because he has the health and mana regen from his ultimate. He can always just kind of throw on out there. So Alchemist has the stayability, and since, as you mentioned, he's not going for greed, as you generally can't in a solo lane, it means that Alchemist is just going to be able to put out a lot of pressure through his spray, through his stuns, and that's going to make a big impact there.
We focused on Alchemist a lot. Now let's actually look back at the actual carries of the game. Gyrocopter and Spectre. Look at their CS. We're 10 minutes in.
Wow.
And they have so little CS. And Tidehunter has the most. Tidehunter has like a standard mid CS with a little bit of engagements, but considering there was a try-and-try situation with a little bit of kills going on and Spectre even moving out of the lane, she doesn't even have 30 CS kills. This game will not come down to who has the most farm on their carries, I think.
I mean, it's hard. It's right now. I definitely agree with you as far as the impact it's making. Very, very minimal. As far as, of course, like the Gyrocopter not finding much CS before he picks up that Black King bar, but inevitably, it's still very, very relevant how active Spectre is. Finding CS is pretty much her only job right now. Like, she can haunt for kills, but in general, she's going to be too big of an impact. Right now, it's just too many kills, too much damage pressure coming out. Nice cogs, TP, and they don't have any lockdown. They won't be able to finish them off. Beautiful timing from Lanham to actually be able to escape out of a bit of a rough patch there. But yeah, I think the Spectre finding some farm is going to be crucial to how they can proceed with the game, because if they're just finding kills and not really finding creep kills for XY, then he's not going to be able to build up enough core items to be relevant when he comes down to the mid game. And they need him to be, because they have a lot of strength. You mentioned the recall potential for the Keeper Light. That effectively means you have 2 people that can play like Spectre. You can have 2 people farming across the map, Reality 1 in and Recall 1 in, and suddenly you have a full 5v5. And that has a lot of potency if used right.
If used right, and if there isn't an angry Alchemist around with his Rage on. Right now, it's a bit like it calmed down again. There was a lot of aggression, and we actually see a smoke on the Radiant side. There was a lot of aggression. Now everyone's just leaning back a bit and relaxing and sorting things out, and now they're like, okay, now we know again what we need to do. Let's go kill some stuff on bottom.
Oh, this could be bad. Both teams smoking up, but they do have full vision of these guys. They dispelled the smoke. They're actually going to go and try to turn this around. 2 Stone Forms available, as well as Mana Leak. Reality comes on in. Kabu is a certain kill. Going for more, though. We're going to see a lot of damage coming out to bring down the Shadow Demon. And on the western end, chasing out, there's going to be the Alchemist dropping the hammer onto Freedom. And he is going to take away very, very quickly. Not committing the reverse polarity just yet. Couldn't close the distance with the skewer, so they just take those 2 down. But they actually do end up getting the kill. Alchemist, his Acid Spray being maxed out, dishes out so much damage that long duration stun was enough to bring him down as the damage over time ticked away. So very, very effective usage of the Concoction. But unfortunately, it walked into a place they had no place in being. They didn't have any vision there, and as such, the Leshrac and Shadow Demon got picked off very quickly.
And Alchemist is going for another mech. So Alchemist is the special Rattlesnake Alchemist, I think we can call it now. A utility ganking hero early on. Special. I'm interesting to see if they will pick that more in the Eastern Qualifier and how other teams might deal with this. Because right now that is kind of like their Joker card. They like to use it every game. And he's manning up a little bit against the Tidehunter in the mid, but there's not going to be much happening.
He's able to man up. I mean, if he Concoction, maybe there was some potential. The problem is Kraken Shell generally will just shirk off that stun very, very quickly. But no, in this position, he has major control in the 1v1 environment, and even more so in a team fight. He has that follow-up that they always need. And then you think about all the lockdown they have. We already talked about this stuns from the Leshrac. Actually, big TP coming in. This could commit a fight here. Magnus coming in. Skewer will connect with a reverse polarity onto 2. Dropping down Leshrac immediately. Nice hook shot coming in to try to drop down Ice, but 2 Stormforms means that Icy can't follow up. Here's the call down inside the cogs. Big damage coming out, but even bigger back the other direction. There is the Soul Ascension, but not enough damage from those little familiars to finish it off. Illuminate comes just a little bit too late there, so they tried to make something work. They committed one of their 2 big teamfight ultimates, but in the end, they only bring down the Leshrac, and they honestly lose the Magnus as well.
Keeper of the Light was locked in by a creep. He was hiding in the trees, and then there was suddenly a dire creep locking him in, and he channeled the Illuminate to get out and to damage the enemy heroes, but I think he was locked in for quite a while, because with Keeper of the Light's right-click damage, it takes a bit to take down a creep. That was unfortunate, because he was really hiding in the trees, hiding in the last little corner, and then suddenly there's a team fight and he can't get out. That was unfortunate.
Yeah, I was wondering where that Illuminate was. I mean, that just made the most sense in the world to drop it right in that position and at that timing, but yeah, unfortunately, the little creep that could ends up saving Gyrocopter's life in the long run, because that Illuminate damage, although it itself wouldn't have killed him, it would have set up more Soul Assumption damage, which most certainly would have. Tidehunter taking a lot of hits, might be forced to use the Ravage here. He's taking so much damage right here. Magic Wand comes out, does not want to have to pop the ulti though, just falls back from here. Still alive, but if he can't commit to this team fight, Freedom could be killed very, very quickly. The Split Earth will lock him down. Homing Missile as well, Concoction to follow it. They get everybody. Nice little flare to make sure Tidehunter's still not there, but we do see Yamate off to the west, gets hit by the hookshot, big damage coming through, pops off the Ravage. Can they get the kill? Anchor Smash will connect. Acid Spray taken away, 20 HP is what he gets out on. Mana Leak onto Alchemist. We do see big damage from the Familiars, finishing off the Shadow Demon. Isis Sight closing on in, but won't be able to follow anything up. We do see on the western front that XY is running on out with his drum phases. Will eat a pretty big homing missile, but beyond that should be fine.
Was a nice micro from the Visage. He stunned 2 heroes with his familiars before he died. That really held back the fight for a little bit longer, and just having a stun that is like 1 second on a hero can make such a huge difference, because you just have 1 second longer to figure out what to actually do. And that just helped them a lot right there. And actually, the Tidehunter is building a pipe. Oh no, he's actually building the mech, and Keeper of the Light also has a headdress, so maybe he's building the pipe. But it looks like they want to get those early team fight items, because they really need a pipe against Rattlesnake's lineup. There's just too much. Like, if they want to push into the base, there's not going to be a chance. Yeah,
it's the Chinese style now, 5-man Dota all the way. So in those situations, getting a 250 HP heal, do the math on 5 heroes, that adds up very, very quickly to 1250. So, and of course the armor buff adds in a bunch of extra mitigation, just an essential item to make things work for their team. And we do see the smoke game coming in. Ice in a bad spot. They will have the concoction, the demonic purge. Ice missing on his skewer, trying to go for the RP, but won't get the opportunity. Too much stun, too much damage, and he falls before the ulti comes on through. Nice Illuminate coming across, but actually not dropping anybody all that low. And now Ice is in a bad spot. Going to be caught in position. Now right next to the Leshrac, there's the Split Earth, and there is the kill. Dropping down, Lil picks up yet another. Adding in, he's 4-1-5. And finally, this is their first opportunity to push down towers. Tier 1 sitting at only 170 HP. They drop it down very, very quickly, and they could try to put some more damage on the next one, but it is a pretty long way off.
This aggression, I mean, if you think about Alchemist as a hero, he has a stun with a 16-second cooldown, and the stun can be 4 seconds long.
And AoE. He's like a super Sven.
Yes, that is like a black hole every 16 seconds. Not the exact AoE of a black hole, but it's a small AoE, and you have it every 16 seconds. 4 seconds! If he gets a Shadow Blade up, he can channel it, so it's 4 seconds stun. That's insane, if you think about it. And they're just playing on that. They figured, okay, Grievous Screed is great, you can get a lot of items up on Alchemist, but who needs items if you just have a stun that is insane?
It looks like XY is going back for the Vanguard, and that puts him in a little bit of a weird spot. He got some early movement and damage, a bit of a mix between damage and survivability. Now going back for even harder survivability. Of course, he could build the Ring of Health into a couple of different things, but the Vanguard seems the most likely. The biggest component that benefits him here is going to be the Vitality Booster, which he'll pick up next, but they actually do scout him out, so Landon might try to disrupt this. He has his ultimate, just going to go down the cliff with an easy Spectral Dagger and right back up the next one. Doesn't have enough cash for the Vitality, but that should be the next on the shopping list. With a Vitality Booster, his dispersion becomes more and more effective. Right now it's only rank 1, so not that big of a deal. But the big thing is, once he gets a Vanguard, once he gets a Heart, more and more potential to actually make it work for them, where they can keep him active on the front lines, and as long as he's close in proximity to his opponents, he can actually dish out a ton of damage, to the point that they're taking almost as much damage as they deal out, just based on how much the dispersion does, and on top of that, how much that generates souls for Visage's, I keep forgetting it for some reason, the soul assumption. Don't cast enough Visage, but obviously getting some fine opportunities here.
You're in trouble.
Cogs will help a little bit, but not going to stop the Familiars up in this flying area. Nice attempt for that ultimate. Does get disrupted. Oh my gosh, this combo. Can Lanham get out? Oh my goodness, what did they just do here? They're coming on in. Concoction going to fly out in a moment. Charged up with the TP. They turn this around. Will Clockwork... No, Clockwork avoids out the Illuminate long range. Here comes Spectre to try to change that, though. Doing a lot of damage with their ultimate. A lot on the front line as well, but it looks like Clockwork lives. Lanham lives with 60 HP. But, unfortunately, the rest of his team getting incinerated by a really, really good ultimate. Shouldn't have been watching Clockwork there. Ice, locking him down. The Reality came on in with an Illuminate, and the timing couldn't have been better. The big ultimate of Haunt. Ice connects. He delivers, and Rattlesnake do take a massive fall here.
This would have been a 5-0 if Clockwork didn't hookshot the Tidehunter under the tower, because Tidehunter walked in, he was in a perfect position to hit 3 heroes, I think it was, and then he got hookshot, and then the Shadow Demon was able to walk out. So they got a little bit out of that, but one kill, if 4 of your heroes die, is still not worth it. But Clockwork got a little bit out of it. At least he was alive. He was the one being out of position in the beginning, and he was the only one getting away, actually.
Yeah.
That's a bit sad. Let's look at the gold graph for a second, because, oh wow. You can see that fight right there.
Exactly. Very, very high impact. I mean, the Clockwork, yes, he did survive. He did a really cool play with the hookshot and a great time of the disruption coming out of Saga, but the problem is that's one person getting out and popping off 2 cooldowns there, and they have that second team fight following. So now he has that Blink Dagger. Getting one great reverse polarity off with the Skewer, now he has the opportunity to double his initiation range, go in for 2,400 when you combine that Blink and Skewer together. It just gets nasty about how much Ice can accomplish with that. We're going to have to keep our eye on him for the following fights, because he certainly is going to be a player there. Really, really nice maneuvers by Zenith here to clean that up and start getting momentum in their favor. It's been kind of even up until this point, net 0, and along with that, just this tiny little advantage in the experience. So they definitely are moving on forward now. They have Mechanism and Haste up on Tidehunter. They have the Ravage coming up in 30 seconds. They have the Blink. They have the RP. Everything matches with its timing right here.
I wonder if there was a little bit of miscommunication within Zenith though, because Keeper of the Light also has a headdress, and now it looks like he's going for 4 stuff, so maybe they weren't quite sure who was building the mech, and suddenly they had 2 headdresses. They might still build this into a pipe if he gets the money, so that's not too big of a deal. Yep. Spectre in the meantime finished the Vanguard and now has a Blade of Alacrity, so this could either be a Yasha or a Diffusal Blade. Both could be an interesting choice here, so we'll leave that to XY to see what he's gonna do.
So, putting pressure up on the top lane to tier 1 here. It might be an opportunity for Zenith to pick up a tower kill. The third one of the game would definitely kind of cement their advantage right now. They have all the team fight utilities, but we do have a really good smoke flank coming in. Despite a solid Observer Ward, there is going to be the Concoction. He is now revealed, coming on around, going on top of the Tidehunter, but he has Kraken Shell. He will be able to survive long enough to get his Ravage off if he chooses to pop it here. Wants to survive, wants us to wait for it. Here's that Skewer, but not connecting on anything. The Ravage tries to lock him in place, but with this BKB up, they have to pop the very, very careful timed reverse polarity. It's not going to be enough, though. Ice is going to take a ball here. Big damage from this Illuminate will go across, but it's going to be Kabu to finish off the Magnus, and Familiar's getting a little bit in over their head as well, so they'll be falling back from here, but my goodness.
Interesting 4-on-4 fight, because 4 heroes were fighting against 4 heroes, and Visage and Clockwork were having a little man fight, and then in the end Clockwork was able to TP out against Visage when the Familiars used the stuns. So they were just fighting each other for 10 seconds while the rest was team fighting. They were just running down the top lane towards the Radiant base and fighting and hiding in the trees while the rest was fighting. So not very team players there, but both are really trying to get a pick-off on each other, because if you think about it, they're rather similar actually, both heroes, because they're both very tanky, they both have an initiation stun, they're both good in trial lines, so they wanted to find out who's the better one. And now there's gonna be Roshan.
Yeah, a lot of potential.
And with all the
like
ultimates down, there's nothing Zenith can do.
Exactly.
They don't have Ravage, they don't have reverse polarity.
Committed so much on that top lane. That was really, like, they committed, they didn't know about the gyrocopter BKB, now they do, and have forced it down to 9 seconds, but it nullified the Ravage's relevance, and the reverse polarity was just one of an escape. They obviously, the cooldown will be back up in a moment, but it's enough that they can use that timing window to take the Roche, and that's a second life on the gyrocopter, a lot more opportunities. He should get his second flat cannon off in the midst of that next team fight, and that would be a really, really big deal if IC can just dish out all that damage across the board.
And we see the BKBs coming up. There's almost a BKB on Clockwork, Gyrocopter has his, and then there's just gonna be the reverse polarity. They're not gonna care so much about the Visage, not so much about the Keeper of the Light. And then what you're gonna do against the Clockwork, you can't reverse polarity everyone usually, and then there's gonna be 2 or 3 heroes still running around and being annoying, and Clockwork is certainly an annoying hero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So they're going in, they're going to smoke. They have most of their cooldowns up. Ravage will be 15, so it's short enough that they will be able to make an impact here. Walking over Sentry, but it really will take our Rattlesnake to actually be looking in this position to actually know. They have the Sentry, they have the Observer, but they're not seeing any pings, so they might not know about the smoke. And as a result, it's just kind of walking on through the lane here, heading up to try to gank up on the jungle, and the target of choice here is Lanham. In this situation, he's going for a Black King bar, which is interesting because now he can be on the front line, not having to worry about the Keeper of the Light or the Visage's nukes, and of course that Ravage as well. So a good position for him if he can pick that up, but for right now he's a little bit deep inside enemy territory and has to watch out. Either way, smoke is broken by Yamate and Ice 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 here. They're looking for more big plays, not getting the opportunity just yet. But yeah, it really, really comes down to how things initiate. Spectre is at a point in her farm where as soon as she picks up the Diffusal Blade, she's going to be an impactful force. Maybe not as much of the Gyrocopter just yet, but she's still going to be very relevant. She has 1445 HP. That's increased by 1800 effective, 18% effective health, soon to be 22% effective health. And she has a huge amount of damage output, not just from the drums, but from this Diffusal Blade. It's actually the highest damage per gold item she can pick up when it comes to that ultimate, the Haunt. Getting an illusion on every single target, and sometimes doing Desolate damage, but most importantly doing that feedback damage from the Diffusal Blade. Suddenly everybody's going to be dropping very, very quickly. So she'll get that, maybe even go for rank 2 before working on her next big item, such as a Manta or a Heart.
And for a second open the gold graph again, because gold graphs are sometimes so different than the kills, and different than from what you think, because Rattlesnake is out farming them. They're farming every hero everywhere, whereas Zenith is just smoking, running around, trying to get a kill here and there, and just the Spectre is constantly in the lane killing creeps. And now the gold difference is almost back to 0, which is crazy considering there was just the Roshan kill, and the kill score is 5 kills. 5 kills different.
We do hear Haunt. There's actually a lot of pressure coming into Saga here. They just wanted to use the Haunt to get vision, to make sure that Rattlesnakes weren't going to counter-initiate on this engagement. So they pick off the Shadow Demon, get that for free, and although they use the Haunt, it's not like it's the most important cooldown at this stage in the game. They get some vision, get some understanding, because the worst thing you want to do is get baited into a position where you are just showing on one person and suddenly 4 smoked heroes appear right behind, and that would be really bad for them. But luckily, Haunt, even though it doesn't necessarily detect them, you have a little fake illusion just walking around by itself, and you know obviously it's tracking something, and you get a good idea. But we do see the smoke coming out from these 3 here, doing a little bit of split push on the mid lane with the rockets, and now heading down to put pressure here directly onto XY.
Spectre. Oh, Spectre.
Could be really bad. A lot of disables, a lot of opportunity going in. The concoction should lock him down. Going in the trees, though, he might actually get out. Lanham has to connect with this, dropping inside. There's the cogs. Ice's Eyes force back, skewers right on through. Now Lanham will pop off that BKB, go for a bit of a man fight. Lightning bouncing around a little bit here, but they're not going to go for a big engagement. They just are happy to get XY out safely.
And the Diffusal Blade is up now. And nothing actually happens in that fight. We lose the Clockwork ultimate, but that's basically all. There was some BKBs used, but everyone's still alive, everyone's getting out. And now both teams are thinking, Rattlesnake is thinking, what can they do to kill the Spectre next time around? Because apparently locking her down with 2 stuns doesn't help anymore. They need a little bit more vision out. They have very defensive vision. They have one in the middle lane and another one close to Roshan, and apart from that they don't really see so much. So maybe they should buy 1 or 2 packs and really get them out in the enemy jungle, get them out on the cliffs so they see a little bit better where the enemy is, because then they can do those smoke ganks a lot easier if they just know, okay, the Spectre is actually alone. There's not a Magnus hiding in the trees.
Yeah. So things are looking worse and worse for Rattlesnake. You were mentioning the goal graph and the fact that they do seem to be farming more effectively, but there's a couple of factors that lead on into that. First of all, good stacking. I gotta say, props to them for staying on top of that. But also, you have a Alchemist who now has his maxed out Grievel's Greed, and he's designed to skyrocket up in gold per minute. The fact that he's only slightly higher than the Spectre is actually a bit of a loss in my opinion. So he really, they need to step up on it, they need to stay on top of it, and if a Spectre, God forbid, was above the Alchemist with his maxed out Grievel's Greed, then there's a desperate problem. And actually now walking right on in, Alchemist pops off his ultimate, but there's an invisible Tidehunter, and they could look to set something up. Spectre can ulti on in, and they have 3 others ready to lock him down. There goes that Gush, that Grave Chill, looking for the Stone Forms to lock him in place. There's the Illuminate charging up the Concoction to get the deny, but he's not going to have enough time. So there is going to be a lot of damage coming in his direction, and now a pretty big assist kill going in from everybody there, and the Keeper Light picking up that last hit.
And they might even get the town now, because although the Lishrak is around, he can't do so much against 2 heroes. And are they actually gonna fall back? No, they're gonna poke the tower a little bit, because the enemy isn't around at the moment. But right now, a bit spread out, everything a bit... It seems like both teams are not entirely sure what to do. Just look at, like, the Shadow Demon, for example. At the moment, he's, like, hiding in trees. He doesn't really know what is the best they can do right now.
Yeah. Well, he needs to get those wards up.
Are they gonna...
But
yeah,
how?
he needs to get them out.
But how do you do that
dangerous.
securely is the question.
Yeah, because if he gets spotted, there's just gonna be a Spectre haunt, because at this point, Spectre has no problem with killing a Shadow Demon, unless he gets lucky, disrupts, and then TPs out. Because Spectre doesn't have a stun, so you can always TP out against her, just like you can TP out against Keeper of the Light if he doesn't have his ulti, which has a decent cooldown.
Not carrying a scroll actually right now, so that's the one hero on the map.
There's a gem. He has a gem, so that's something, the Keeper of the Light. So they're gonna look into dewarding those wards the Shadow Demon wants to get out. So always a little bit of a vision battle, and let's look at the Gyrocopter, because he is buying a butterfly, so that he actually also starts dealing some damage and is more than an ultimate and a flag cannon and a little bit of magical damage. Because as soon as he starts dealing damage, that's trouble for Zenith.
Extremely. He does get the buff up of the fact that Acid Spray will be on most of his targets, so they're going to be taking some increased damage through the negative armor. The Flag Cannon will do a lot already, but adding on this Eagle Song, he jumps up his damage already, looking at almost 160. That is for 6 shots in a full AoE. And the big thing, yeah, the Butterfly will provide him some nice effective health, the evasion there, as well as the armor buff. The next thing he's going to be looking for is a Helmet Dominator after the fact. The question is if he'll get the opportunity, because there seems to be a lot of pressure from Zenith right now. And yeah, XY's happy to tank up on the front line. Vanguard, pretty good for blocking tower damage and regenerating it in turn. So now they are in a great position. I expect Spectre's next item to be a Heart of Tarask. She has 3,000 gold saved up, so it could even like sell the Magic Wand if she wants to pick up the Reaver outright. But maybe not buying back, since you can always haunt or be recalled in, and buyback is therefore a lot more relevant.
Yeah, I think this might just come down to the next Roshan, because, I don't know, it looks a bit bugged for me. Can you tell me when the next Roshan is up? Because it looks like it's
2
mirrored
minutes.
for me. Is it 2 minutes? Okay, because it doesn't look like it usually does. Maybe just my graphics are being weird. Okay, so they might just lean back, farm a bit more, and then wait for that, because with an Aegis on either of the teams, they can do a lot more. They can be a lot more aggressive.
This will be interesting.
You can just see them. They're just poking the tower a little bit, going back again. Now the Magnus, oh, he's actually going in.
He wanted to blink Skewer instead. Eats a disruption. Going to take a lot of hits here. Going to get hit by the Split Earth. But they've taken down the tower. They popped out the pipe. They're ready to fight, and Rattlesnakes most certainly aren't. They have 2 people far, far away. They have both their carriers split pushing the other lanes, top and bottom, and that means they don't have any damage. They're just trying to, you know, force them back with words more so than actual firepower. Either way, Icy does pick up some nice farm here. Will be able to get the Talisman of Evasion if he wants to commit his buyback goal, but at least for the moment, he's just going to teleport back safely, and the rotation will be nothing more than a counter push. And same thing with the Alchemist. Lua down at bottom, hiding out in the trees, does finish his Assault Karas. I was talking about the Acid Spray armor reduction being very, very effective for Gyrocopter. Now we see that coming out of Lua with his AC as well. This is going to be a lot of damage that I'm not sure if the Zenith are prepared for. For the first time, I actually feel comfortable with Rattlesnakes taking a 5 versus 5.
Rattlesnake has changed the game plan in the last 10 minutes. If you can open the gold graph for a second. You see those little boxes on the bottom, they stand for the kills. And actually, if you look at where the last red box of a Rattlesnake kill is, that is some time ago. Since then, they've just been farming, and getting killed a little bit. So they're really... They take it a bit slower now.
Yeah.
They're really intimidated. This time it's them getting intimidated by the fighting power.
Big momentum shift. It seemed like there would be no end to the team fights for the first 10 minutes and first 15 minutes, but since then, yeah, it has been a completely different game, trying to build up and get the right item and the right timing to move on forward. But it seems like they don't want to take this as their time. Alchemist and Gyrocopter are still farming out the other lanes, finding farm where there aren't heroes so they can TP in with big items. I think he might buy out when the butterfly in full can be purchased, but that's not going to be for a little bit longer. He needs about 200 more gold, and this tower is going to drop too quickly. So they're trying to line at the tier 3s, or maybe the tier 2 on bottom, or maybe the Roche, but right now they're not ready for it. Just give them a few more seconds, and they'll be happy to take a big fight.
And at this moment, Spectre is 2 levels ahead of Gyrocopter, so Rattlesnake are falling behind if they don't do anything. There are currently 3 heroes in the base, just sitting there and hoping for the best, and now it's Zenith taking map control, getting out those wards, dewarding the enemy's wards. And Gyrocopter and Alchemist are doing their best farming, but if 3 other heroes aren't farming, I'm not sure if it's worth it. Leshrac at this point has face boots and 2 bracers.
Yeah. Difficult position to be in, most definitely. They do get a gem up for themselves, so they will be able to establish a little bit more map control, maybe take out the 2 of the observer wards that have been placed in their jungle by Zenith. But the big thing that's coming up next is that Roche being scattered out by the familiar. They know it's up, they're ready to roll with it, and then it comes down to timing. Looks like Magnus's next item is going to be a refresher long term, but we're not going to have to worry about that for a good few more minutes at the very least. Either way, Ice is farming actually extremely well, considering he is the Magnus mid. He is sitting at 11.2k, so he's staying on par with the Gyrocopter and just a little bit behind that very farm-dependent Alchemist. So working out pretty nicely. We'll see how this next fight comes out, but everything comes down to the Roche. And one unfortunate thing for Rattlesnakes is not only are they kind of hiding inside their base, afraid of a smoke right now, but they also have absolutely no vision on Roche, not even close. Like, they don't have a single observer ward up. And for all they know, Roche is already, like, it could be 1 HP right now, and they have no idea. Right now, they do see that there is push going down to bottom, so that gives them some understanding of the positioning. But now we see this big pickup on the Radiance, and hopefully I get a minute to talk about that before the next fight. But Radiance is one of those items on Spectre. Of course, Radiance in general, you want it as early as possible. You want it at like 20 minutes so you can enhance your farm exponentially. But with the Radiance this timing, it's perfectly fine on a Spectre because she needs to balance 2 things. Damage presence and tank ability. If she just builds a harder 5, it's not going to be relevant to take the Spectre until every other support is dead. But by putting the Radiance and putting the pressure there, the 45 damage per second burn in AoE scares them off and means that they have to actually commit to him. Actually committing on in. We do see a skewer coming out, but a big Force Staff keeping Lanham out of danger. Yeah, so trying to balance out that damage, trying to make sure it's continuously putting pressure, and of course, when she has her ultimate up, that guarantees everybody will be hit by it. Not multiple times over, but just once for everyone, guaranteed. So that's going to be doing a lot of damage across the board, and although, yes, it is slightly delayed, around 33 minutes, for a Spectre, that's not too shabby, especially with the fact that she's built up gradually to make sure it. You don't want to just rush a naked Radiance, or you're worthless in that sense. It's a balance of damage and tank, and I think this Spectre is meeting it very effectively.
Do you know that feeling when you just randomly click through the heroes to see if they have any new items, then you suddenly see a Stake Relic, and then you're like, wow, there's going to be a Divine, and then you realize it's Spectre?
Yeah.
It's a little bit disappointing, and Spectre might actually be in trouble.
Oh, big spot for Spectre. Can go for the attempt for Haunt, but getting stunned out too much. There's the Haunt. Can she get the recall off? Where is XY going? He goes down to the bottom. There's that Alchemist charging up the Concoction. He gets a kill with the Radiance and with the Desolate. XY taking a lot of hits here. Will the Stoneform be enough to keep him alive? Yes. He survives through the Acid Spray. Will walk away to TP out and live another day. Gets a kill for his trouble. That's what happens when Rattlesnake try to gank their Spectre. And instead, we do see Ice pursuing on to actually finish off the Clockwork as well in turn.
Yeah, that's what I talked about in the draft. In the late game, you can't attack Spectre as a support because you're just gonna kill yourself, because she has effectively more life, more armor, more damage block, and suddenly you find yourself down to a half life because you just cast a spell on her. And now there's 2 heroes there. Shadow Demon is about to respawn because he's just level 10 at this point, so he's respawning fast, but
going deep.
they're just getting, Magnus is just blinking in all the time to see if he can get a skew out, and in just 20 seconds he can do it again.
Yeah. And you were talking about her being all over the map. She just TP'd back to base and got recalled right back to the front line. So yeah, she is absolutely making that presence known.
And now they're just piped, and the pipe is good against all the acid stuff, but they just don't care. They're all really tanky. They have the initiation, they said, but they're still being careful. Because Zenith, after all, is 1 game behind, and if they do a small mistake and suddenly Rattlesnake is coming back, this could be bad for them. So they're taking it careful, and I'm glad, because it's always sad to see those huge comebacks when just one team is playing a bit stupidly in the end because they're like, oh, we have the advantage. There was actually a game in Dota 1 that I think Navi lost because they were diving the fountain of the enemy like for 10 minutes because they were like, oh, this game is over, and the enemy hadn't called GG, and then they, I think it was against MYM or in an MYM tournament, if I remember it correctly. I'm sure someone in the chat will be like, oh yeah, I know, and then the person's gonna link it. But this was actually one of these games where like, why Navi, why, or whatever team it was, why do you do this? And it's always sad to see those games. So Zenith at this point really playing it safe, waiting for Roshan, and then they're gonna go in and then they're gonna win the game. Not do some half-ass things.
Yeah. Curious to see if they'll actually bother putting the Aegis on the Spectre, or if they're going to give it to maybe Ice Ice Ice. He does have that refresher orb up, and as soon as the Roche dies, he will have enough money for the refresher. So that could be potent if he could come back, make sure that he gets both ultis off, and good ones at that, and then just have XY work with his single health bar, which will be getting more and more substantial now that he's probably going to feel safe to pick up the heart. But given the positioning, it looks like they want to Aegis on the Spectre. Here's the Ravage going across. Doesn't hit on anybody Kabu, but they focus him down quickly. Still have their RP available, but it looks like they want to go and call down on the mid here. They are going to be able to bring down the Spectre. Big kill for them as Luo, Lanham, jump on top of him there and burst him down. The buyback comes out. There's no way to recall in. He has already used the Haunt, so Spectre is out of this fight, and instead they pursue on to bring down the Tidehunter. A Medallion active. There's the concoction, dishing out the damage there. And yeah, they clean this up nicely. Ice Ice Ice, the only one to survive. The buyback committed. Why aren't they going for the Roche? They have to go for the Roche right now. There we go. Medallion active. There's going to be the right clicks. They will be able to take this Aegis instead. So it doesn't matter who Zenith intended to put it on. Now they don't get the opportunity. We see a really, really good counter engagement from Rattlesnake, and they focused hard. They knew the Radiance was a threat, and they brought in not the supports. Like you said, they'll just get completely blown up by the dispersion, by the Radiance. But they brought in their two big heroes, Clockwork and Alchemist, to go right up on top of her and bring her down quickly. So really, really good movement there. Good focus. I was so confused when I saw Icy run in, just bull rushing the Roche pit to drop the call down, but it was enough to bring her down, and as a result, they take that fight by storm.
So I start talking about comebacks, and suddenly there's this huge fight going in favor of Rattlesnake. I totally didn't jinx that. What's interesting is that Tidehunter and Magnus got totally split from their team because Spectre was haunting, and then suddenly there were two fights going on, one with the Tidehunter and the Magnus, and then there was just Spectre fighting against everyone else because she was alone in the pit. That's always a little bit the problem if you have someone with a blink dagger on your team or two people with a blink dagger. Suddenly they're in a fight and you're somewhere completely else because you can't blink up a hill or skewer up a hill. And then Spectre was split, and if there's no Ravage and no reverse polarity to be able to save the Spectre, she can't always run out with her dagger, and she's not that tanky at this point. There's no heart yet, and the Vanguard only does so much at this point.
Yeah. Right now, it really looked bad for them losing the Aegis, losing the team fight like that, but if they just shape up a fighting as a team as a whole instead of just trying to initiate long range and making the plays, I think they're going to be fine because they have the refresher up on Magnus. He has a BKB. They have the Tidehunter moving in towards a refresher himself. He'll be able to pick that up pretty soon, and he has the Kraken Shell, so he doesn't need a BKB. So with those two combined together, Ice 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 and Yamate are just the initiation masters. Like, there's nothing that can trump double Ravage, double reverse polarity. Nothing in RS's kit, nothing in almost the entire game. It's just ridiculous what they're going to be able to make work for them, and now they have the Spectre to back it up. So they unfortunately have XY has to save for buyback here because he did not pick up the Aegis, and he's only sitting on 3,400, but he wants to get that Reaver up pretty soon. He wants to get that Heart, or maybe Defusal too, but it looks like Heart because he is saving. And he does actually go for the Reaver, buys out for this. Could be a bit of a risky play, but the important thing is he already bought back, so for the next 2 minutes he wouldn't be needing that money anyway. So he'll probably farm it up very, very quickly, and then buy out for the Heart in full again. And I think he'll be in a pretty good position in that sense, unless there's a really good gank. If Rattlesnakes, of course, gank him up right now, then that Heart will be delayed, his buyback money will be delayed, and 2 minutes from now he won't have the cash he needs. So we'll see if they can actually put the pressure out. But we saw what happened last time. They tried to go for a little bit of 4-man Dota on top of the Spectre.
So how many pro games we see that are 40 minutes long and the goal difference isn't even bigger than 3k? This is like the game we hoped for. This is an even game where both teams are still completely in the game. There is a slight favor on Zenith at the moment, but Rattlesnake just showed that they have the full potential to come back on this. And Gyrocopter is also getting big, and if he just farms a little bit more, we could see a Divine. I'm not sure if the Asian scene favors the Divine on Gyrocopter, but I certainly know the Western scene does. and it's incredibly strong. He decided to go for Helm of the Dominator so he can build into a Satanic, which makes him very, very tanky, and he can also heal up within seconds. So it's like, it's basically, if you can attack, it's like having a cheese.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, speaking of cheese, did we have a cheese this time
No,
around?
it was the second Roshan, so not in this case.
There was so much going on in the pit that I couldn't really focus on.
Yeah. No problem there,
Especially not on 5 FPS. I'm really not sure. Do you have any issues with this? Sometimes I
Not
have
at all.
issues with certain versions of Dota because my laptop should be able to take this, and I really don't know. I have like render quality turned completely down, so I just see pixels moving around.
Ooh, yeah, that's
and I
unfortunate.
can figure out which heroes it is, so I really need to look into this.
Yeah, most definitely. But no, might be the patch for on your end. I'm perfectly 100% fine. But yeah, just some FPS issues. Hopefully you're not overheating on the laptop or whatever, but hard to say. Anyways, one thing, yeah, about that Helm of the Dominator, Gyrocopter desperately needed that to actually go toe-to-toe with the Spectre because of the fact that once his BKB expires, he is dealing a very substantial amount of damage to himself. He's dealing, I think, 22% of what Spectre receives, if she's right on top of him, right back to himself, and she doesn't even take that damage. So it takes it off for her. She just straight up is taking 78% damage, and he's going to be the one taking that 22% in turn. So that once the BKB expires, the Dominator is what makes up for that. He gets 15% lifesteal. It kind of counter each other out, but we do see, nope, BKB popped off on Icy, dropping down to 7 seconds, and I gotta say, even though SSS didn't get the pick there, that in of itself is a nice little win.
And Alchemist is buying, I think, an Abyssal Blade. At least he has the Basher up now, and that's going to be even more locked down by Rattlesnake. At this point in the last game, if they found a hero, the hero is just locked down and dead. And with this Abyssal Blade that goes through BKB, the Magnus isn't going to be a threat, because if he BKBs and then wants to reverse polarity, and the Alchemist is outside of that,
yeah.
And of course it's, how much is it, plus 100 damage? So Alchemist, Gyrocopter, they're starting to deal a lot of damage. And if they lock the Spectre down first, that dispersion and that damage reflect is not around anymore.
Yeah.
So they really need to focus on her, and they need to be careful with all the Ravages and another Ravage and another reverse polarity. But they need to kill the Spectre first, else they're just going to kill the supports themselves, their own supports.
Good pickup here by the Gyrocopter on top of that. The Abyssal Blade's going to do a lot once he gets that, and Luo might buy out for that entirely, but we do see the Gyrocopter at the Secret Shop. He has the Courier with the recipe up and is 300 gold away from picking up that Reaver. Once he has Satanic in full, that Dominator effect is going to be amplified very, very substantially. He's going to be able to go head-to-head with anybody and possibly even survive. I don't know if you can survive through a double Ravage and a double reverse polarity, but if anybody can, it's somebody with either a Heart or a Satanic. So getting that strength is going to help him out a ton, and then the Satanic, like he said, it's a free health bar. He'll just be able to get a couple big right clicks off, and suddenly he's back up to full there. So we'll see the timing of that. They certainly have the disables to prevent that from taking much effect, but at least he's getting the HP pool up rather than just going for hard right click like a Divine.
This is really one of these games. If you look at the boxes under the gold graph again, there was so much aggression early on. Everyone was this huge team fight that didn't end for 3 minutes straight. And then there was a little bit of pick-off by Zenith, and now nothing is happening. And in the beginning of the game, I wanted to say, so everyone who's saying the Chinese or the Asian scene is just playing farm, look at this, we're just being so aggressive, and now we're just back to farm, farm, farm.
Yeah, it's definitely a shift in style. I mean, honestly, that mentality is pretty old-fashioned, but they do play conservative. They do play cautiously enough to make sure that their actions are very deliberate and very well-defined. And in this sense, they're doing that just so darn well. Heart, Vanguard up on the Spectre, and yeah, they are just farming it up, pushing out the lanes. And right now, all they need to do is wait out Gyro's Aegis. It has expired of itself. So we have seen that 6-minute park. Actually, now looking at 7 minutes since Roshan, so that'll be up in 3. And they don't have to worry about the Aegis of the Immortals. So they know that they're more comfortable to engage 5 versus 5. And they just have to find their opening, find their opportunity, which isn't the hardest to do when you have so much initiation potential. Just need to get 400 more gold, not even that, for Yamate to pick up that refresher. He's actually already setting out the courier himself to prepare for that. That refresher is going to be big.
One item I'd like to point out, just because we don't see it so often, is the Rod of Aegis and Visage. It's one of these items that has been introduced together with Heaven's Halberd, and which we also don't see that so often, and the Abyssal Blade, and it's just usually not considered as the best item on supports because it takes a long time to build, and you get health from it and intelligence, but it's always difficult to use, and Visage got it this time. He didn't choose to go for the Aghanim Scepter. He wants an extra slow, to just lock down those heroes a little bit better, because as soon as they blow all their refresher orbs and ravages and reverse polarities, they don't have so much lockdown and slow anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And now they smoke. So
This
now I
is
want
the
to see
timing.
something happening.
Yamate has refresher, double reverse polarity, double ravage. Anybody that's caught out is dead. 100%, and we'll just see. The Rocket Flare trying to scout it out, but they have absolutely no idea about this vision perspective. Ice has that blink initiation. To be fair, the Tidehunter does not, but the question is whether or not he needs it in this position here. And right now, the Radiant Spurn, they know that they have to know that they're nearby. Actually, we do have this illusion, so that might be faking out a little bit, but now Spectre comes in, shows herself, and the smoke has dispelled. Really, really good movement from Rattlesnake, not being outside their base whatsoever. Gyrocopter hiding up in the trees for a long period of time, now knows that pretty much everybody's involved and is going to go ahead and proceed to split push that top lane, being able to pretty much go anywhere he wants. But no, yeah, right now, Zenith kind of want to just push in up on the high ground. This is the most dangerous circumstance for them, but it's also the most profitable. If they can just bring down these racks, they can pretty much secure the win here. Fortification already popped up, certainly helps that intention. So XY is just going to stay on the front line. His heart isn't put on cooldown, so they're just going to be staying active, keeping him full HP, take up the tower, poke and prod, and try to siege it down gradually. But we do see Fortification forced out by Icy up on that top lane as well. Has that TP scroll, looking to come back as soon as he's needed, but at least for the moment trying to make use of the time that Zenith is hesitating.
Tidehunter has all these big items now. He needs to be a little bit careful though with his mana, because in a team fight, if it's boots, his arcane boots are on cooldown, he can't use his bottle, and then suddenly everything costs a lot of mana. All his 3 items in the 3 top slots cost over 100 mana to use, and there's 2 times Ravage, which is 650 in total. Then he wants to use Gush, then he wants to use Anchor Smash a couple of times. He really needs to be careful. That's why he's not using any spells at the moment. He wants to use everything in a fight and then hoping he gets everything off. That's always the problem if you go Refresher Orb on a Strength hero.
Oh, coming on in. Luo is trying to force the issue here. The ultimate comes on out. He is getting stunned up. There's a big reverse polarity started off. Looking for the second one here. There's that second reverse polarity. Han comes on through. Big damage from XY. Going on the front lines. There's Ravage number 1. Looking for a pipe coming out. Looking for Ravage number 2 to go across here. Never mind. Not going to pop it off. Just going for the damage. They force out the buyback. We are going to see the Alk, we are going to see the Gyrocopter come back on in, but their ultis have expired. No Chemical Rage, no call down. Lanham locking on in. He's inside his own cogs, but actually he's going to be able to walk away from this. Cog damage going across. Big right clicks from Icy. Already popped off the Satanic, though. Has to be a little bit cautious. BKB on cooldown as well, but they're running them out of the base. They're holding the line at least for the moment. They're going to be able to chase on through. Luo does have Concoction charging now. Looking for the best target. Freedom would have been a better one, but they're going to go on Yamate here. Big damage coming across. There is another Ravage with a Skewer. Combining them together. 4-stab across. A lot of damage. Icy lifesteal and the crazy Satanic popped. Will he burn through it? XY. Oh, they all drop down. Big Illuminate going across. Big lifesteal. There's going to be a Concoction coming out on top of Ice. One single right click to finish it off. Shadow Demon surviving with 80 HP. Tempting fate, tempting death. Ice closing with the last shockwave to bring him down. No! He survives with 16 HP. Ultra kill for Luo. They committed 2 buybacks for this, but they hold the line. They hold the racks, and they fight against the unstoppable force of double Ravage, double RP. I don't even believe my eyes.
That was totally ridiculous, this Ravage, reverse polarity combination there. I've seen both heroes with Refresher, but never in combination.
Exactly.
They should just pick an Enigma next time around. But the problem was actually they didn't get the second Ravage off. Tidehunter was in a very good position to get it off around the mark where the tier 3 tower stands, but then he was getting cocked and battery assaulted by the Clockwork, and if you're battery assaulted, you can't cast certain spells because they have a casting animation, and that is a little bit too big for the Tidehunter ultimate. So I was on him, and I really saw, you see when a spell is trying to be cast and you have this green line around the icon, and he was trying it multiple times but he didn't get it off, and then the fight kind of dragged out, and then Rattlesnake were able to buy back some heroes and were able to heal up and chase Zenith down because Tidehunter didn't get the second Ravage up.
Yeah.
And he got it in the end, but it wasn't as good as the position he had in the base, and then suddenly everyone was just spreading out and chasing and dying, and there was the Alchemist, and it was a bit chaotic. especially at 5 FPS with a lot of pixels. So I'm hoping you can give some more insight.
Yeah, if he was trying to spam with the Ravage early on, but okay, we do see the picks going through. Next fight breaking out. They don't have the Ravage up just yet, but they do have these RPs going on, dropping off on Luo solo. They have so many to work with. They want to start it off strong, going with the Haunt, trying to burst down the support. Shadow Demon should fall quickly. There is a big RP. Ice, locking in 3. Big damage coming on out. There's Luo, life stealing away, going for big flat cannon. Turn this around a little bit. They are doing a lot of damage back, and with the Insane Concoction, they lock down Freedom. There's going to be Ice on the run, but he can blink on out. They're going to go for a TP on the Magnus, but they've killed the Spectre once. Her buyback's on cooldown, no matter how big she is. She's taking too many hits here. Luo and Icy doing so much damage, but the Concoction is just going to fly a very, very long way. But anyways, wow, they're still holding it. The one big thing, Yamate's Ravage was about 10 seconds on cooldown going on into that. I think the Refresher was a little bit brief cooldown for both of them as well, but they still got the double RP off. The problem was Yamate didn't do anything for that other than the pipe. So without those big Ravages, they couldn't really seal the deal there. I think the first engagement, the first set of Ravage, wasn't that big of a deal. They didn't really need it. They only had like 2 targets in range. One was about to be Big AB, but he wanted to cast it, didn't get the opportunity, and they turned it around once, and now this second time around without any Ravages at all, Rattlesnake doing just too much damage. This dual core paying off so much. They're gonna have they have the Basher, the Abyssal, the BKB number 7 on the Alchemist along with his Heart and Cheese, so all the HP in the world to work with. And then Gyrocopter has that Aegis, Satanic, Butterfly, and BKB just ready to rumble up here, up on the high ground. They'll take the tier 2 and I believe the tier 3 before Spectre arises from the grave. But at least for now, they do have the fortification. They're going to try to hold the line here. As far as cooldowns, Reverse Polarity 1 coming up in 8 seconds, but the Refresher is going to be on CD. So 1 RP, 2 Ravages. We'll see how it plays out here, but they're going to fall back as soon as Spectre comes back up, just doing the damage they can while they can.
Yeah, the problem is really if the Spectre is dead, who's going to deal the damage? They can stun, they can reverse polarity, they can do a little bit with Visage and his Soul Assumption. So yeah, short pause out, but if the Spectre is gone, there is not so much. While is it on Rattlesnake's side, everyone is dealing a ton of damage, and even the supports, I mean, Shadow Demon himself is not dealing a lot of damage, but with his Soul Catch, everything else deals 50% more damage. And I want to take a short moment during this pause to look at the supports and feel sorry for their low level, because I myself am a support player, and it's almost an hour since this game started, and most of them, even actually all the supports don't even have their level 3 ulti. So that hurts a little bit.
Yeah, Visage, Keeper Light, Fallen Behind. I mean, obviously Ice doesn't really care about his recall, but Freedom would love to have some better familiars, and in general, their durability, especially that of the Rattlesnake supports, they've got very, very little. Ghost Scepter will help somewhat, but honestly, how much of this damage is raw right-click? Like, Leshrac will avoid the Spectre's illusion, is mostly what they're looking at there. Other than that, the Ghost Scepter is just some raw stats, providing some nice benefits there, but yeah, that's painful. And then Shadow Demon himself, he's carrying around the gem with only 1,000 HP. He dies in moments to this Spectre that has 2,800, dispersing it all around. That is, yeah, just painful to see. But it's really, that means that they have to be cautious about what they come into the fight. You can't just run around with your Pulse Nova and do whatever you want. Pretty much, Leshrac has to get a couple stuns off, maybe get some Edict damage up, but not expect too much from himself. Same thing with just 1 well-timed Disruption, 1 well-timed Soul Catcher, and a Demonic Purge. And then all Shadow Demon should do is just hang back and spam out the poisons. Yeah, so that is pretty much them trying to make what impact they can, but the players are really this Mag, this Tide, this Alk, this Gyro, and of course the Spectre. You can't forget about her. As far as item progression goes, we do see she went for the Monkey King bar first, which was just to pierce through the Gyrocopter's evasion, because otherwise his evasion plus lifesteal would be too much for her to 1v1. So she gets Monkey King bar, she has more right-click damage single target, but the problem is it doesn't help her illusions, it doesn't give her any more tank. So now she's going back for the Butterfly, getting that evasion up herself, and the question is the timing of a Monkey King bars for Alchemist and Gyro. They will see this Talisman evasion in the next fight, and they'll probably be willing to respond. So if this game goes even longer than it already has, then we could be looking at Gyrocopter and Alchemist looking to pick up Monkey King bars and nullifying that item pick to an extent.
And we had a short pause out from Zenith. They didn't quite give a reason. There was no disconnect, so maybe they just needed a second to find out what to actually do against Rattlesnake. Just coming back from this, they were really pressured. We talked about how 3 heroes were hiding in the base and couldn't really do anything, and suddenly they're rolling over Zenith again. And it's, I mean, let's bring up the gold graph again. It's, what is it, 1,000 in a game like this is crazy.
Oh gosh, yeah.
This is really, it's one of these games where you just, in the end, when this game will end, we will lean back and ask ourselves, what actually happened here?
Yeah, exactly. Because looking at this, like, a caster's generally like, oh, well, eventually they have this late game, or the momentum shift is showing this direction. But as you said, there's not much momentum with the gold being as even as it is. And then it comes down to Roche engagements, things like that. But then you look at the teams, and you're like, okay, well, this draft, you have a Refresher Tidehunter with Mech and Pipe. You have a Refresher Magnus with BKB Blink. You're like, okay, well, that can't be defeated. Then you look back to the other side, and you're like, okay, well, you have a Heart, a Basher, an AC Alchemist. He's going to get even more farmed. He's level 25. You have a Gyrocopter with Satanic BKB Butterfly. He's level 24. You're like, oh, that can't be defeated. Just too much. And then just like both sides seem to be unstoppable, but that's where the Clash of the Titan really comes on through, is when both teams have this level of potential and every single kill counts. The little lowly supports, the big pickoffs, whatever it is, right now it all comes down to control, movement, positioning, and timing as far as how they initiate here, because honestly I don't favor either of them in the team fights. Like, it's so risky going in for any single 5v5 clash, but the moment they see an opportunity, they have to take it, and so it's very, very difficult, high pressure, and that's why, so yeah, some people might be dialing up Merlini, but I think take a tactical pause, take a breather, 2 minutes, figure out what the hell's going on with this game, because honestly, it is a doozy for me to even cast, and I can't imagine what kind of nerves is going through the minds of these players here.
Yeah, and at this point of the game, almost 60 minutes in, it comes so much down to buyback. Because we talked about it, the Spectre can buy back and either haunt in or get recalled in. And if that possibility is down and Rattlesnake can buy back everyone and teleport in everyone with Boots of Treadle, for example, then it's just a huge difference. And at this point, 2 heroes have buyback. Because either there's no gold...
Oh, we're gonna get initiation. Oh, it's just a Spectre illusion. Oh.
Now I have this song in my head.
Exactly.
You know that
have Antimates sing it up.
Oh, yeah.
Have Antimates sing it up. But, you know, it was just a facade. They got faked out. Not costing anything, but they were so hopeful. They're like, let's get on that Spectre. But no.
And the carries are actually maxing out in slots. The Spectre has a Talisman of Evasion, so she's gonna buy a Butterfly or maybe even the Heaven's Halberd against either the Gyrocopter or the Alchemist, but I don't think so. I think it's just gonna be a standard Butterfly. And then she's full. What is she gonna do? She can still buy Boots of Travel, but apart from that, no more items on her side. So we're reaching very, very late game. Yeah. Where everyone is just farming and hoping to get the buybacks back, and then there's gonna be a huge team fight, everyone's buying back, there's gonna be a couple of racks falling, and then there's just gonna be 10 minutes more farming, more buyback gold getting.
Right now, storing it up, buy back up on Spectre, obviously, to compete. Alchemist and Gyro need to get some of their own. But one thing that's difficult for Rattlesnake in this position is the defender's advantage, and the natural one where, of course, buybacks, obviously you're responding to your fountain, you can TP back to your own front line. Actually, Skira comes on through low, he has the BKB, won't pop it just yet, they want him to take the cooldowns, they're ready for him to be on the front line. Ice, force staff out of a hookshot coming from Clockwork, no cogs to connect, they go back on out, they just take the tier 2, but Spectre on the mid, taking down the racks, right-clicking them down very, very swiftly. Will it be enough right here? The TP's coming back on through. There is going to be possibly an attempt to just reality back on down. Yeah, he gets reality right back on into Icy. Going to bring him down. Popping off the Aegis. He has buyback just barely. Barely getting enough cash for it, and right now is going to have to be on the run. No, gets RP'd. Gets locked down. Too much damage. And actually the graph, once again, a little bit wrong. Thinking he was dead at the time. But actually just temporarily. It means that he doesn't have buyback. That's the problem here. It costs 1900. He only has 1675. He's going to have to wait this one out, and that is a long time. A level 25 Gyro, 80 more seconds to wait it out, and that can cost them. Not the Roshan, but possibly these mid racks here.
I was just checking Spectre's inventory because I thought she bought a Diffusal Blade level 2, but actually she hasn't used a single purge what is it called? A purge...
Charge, yeah.
Charge, yes, sometimes I'm missing words. Yet, it's still 8. So that's really interesting because, you know, also in pubs there are those kind of people who buy drums and don't use a single charge the whole game. And then there are those kind of people who buy it and use it within 5 minutes. Yeah. And Spectre seems to just like to right-click it and not use it.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. I mean, she does already have the lockdown. You mentioned the Atos that was previously picked up and things like that. Yeah, anyways, No, we're going to see big initiation here. Luo doing a lot of damage to XY. Going to charge up the concoction. BKB popped off, doing a lot of hits. Look at that attack speed come from Luo, but actually just going to throw out the concoction really, really quickly and fall back from here. That is a low HP Spectre, 900. The heart, she has to get out the acid spray to get the heart back off cooldown, but they want to also take these racks. It's a tough decision to make. She's making it, going in the front line, saying, screw it, I'll buy back as needed. She has the backup. She has the Ravage, the RP soon. They take the mid racks. They're going to look at the bottom one now. It's exposed. It's vulnerable. It's sitting on only 1,500 HP apiece. They have to go for it in a very short while. Gyrocopter going to come back on in. He will have buyback if he just gets a single kill. So they actually will have everybody able to jump back on in. And Clockwork knows it. Land him going in so darn deep. Just trying to keep them here so the Gyrocopter can come on in. He gets the Cogs coming on XY. He's going to be force tapped out. A lot of damage coming on top of him. Big right click coming from Luo, but even bigger. There's the Ravage. There's the RP. The second one coming from Ice, locking him in. They even get that second Ravage. So much damage. Luo taking some big hits. XY, though, can they bring him down? They pop off the cheese. He's still up. Oh, my goodness. They're still alive. They're still fighting, trying to bring down XY. So many hits. Can they finish it here? XY still lives. He's still up here. He survives through everything. And they take them all down. Buyback from Alchemist.
God.
The buyback from the Leshrac. But Gyrocopter doesn't have it. Oh, no.
I was just sitting here and shaking my head while they were just stunning and using their refresher. This is crazy. And the Alchemist didn't care. He was taking so much damage and he just tanked it up. And now he bought back and he's...
Oh my goodness.
What is he actually doing?
He's going in. He's going to get a good stun off on Yamate, trying to save the racks here, but he knows he can't fight with a Gyrocopter. He has to imagine they don't have a Gyrocopter in this game. Right now, it's all them, and they're just going man mode in. BKB's popped off, going off. The Clockwork Hook will hit on Ice. They should bring down the Coddle, but he himself will buy back right back on into it. So they do force them out, but in the top lane, I didn't even catch it, but the racks have fallen by themselves. The creep wave pushing it in to lose all 6 racks. This is mega creeps, and this is so tough to come back from. If you're going to come back from it, you might as well have a Gyrocopter. Oh, nice Cogs, countering out the BKB TP of Ice. Throwing the concoction. They could actually go for a pick here. They can do this. Here comes XY to try to stop them. The Stoneforms will help out quite a bit as well. They're still closing the distance. Leshrac doing some hits, but not enough. Kabu's going to get turned on. There's going to be a big soul assumption out onto Clockwork, but it's actually going to be the death of Coddle in the end. Getting a little bit too in over his head, and now they are dropping quickly. But as I was saying, Mega Creeps, they're tough, but Gyrocopter can crack them. The problem is they've lost so many team fights that even as they're defending, I'm not so sure. So these Mega Creeps will come on through with this range rack to kill, and that's going to be it. There is going to be a couple more right clicks, and there is those Mega Creeps. They're not going to call GG. They have to wait this out. They've fought too long, too hard to actually call GG here. So we have the Mega Creeps up, but it's 62 minutes in, and I believe in Rattlesnakes. They have still an opportunity. They still have a window of chance. Closing in on top, they bring down the Tidehunter as far as trapping the Cogs. Might be able to actually pick him off here. He doesn't have buyback. He doesn't have it for quite a bit. So 80 seconds without the Tidehunter, and possibly without the Spectre. She'll buy back if she needs to. But right now,
She has a lot of gold.
stacking up on 8,300. Oh my goodness.
It was 9k at some point, so if you take down the whole base, suddenly you have a lot of gold. But like I said, she can't buy any more items, and she actually used the diffusal blade charge. In
Oh
that
my
fight.
goodness. But
So that must have turned it around right there. And now, I don't know, I think I saw on the Too Good stream once that Bruno had some fact that only 0.5% of all games where more than 2 set of wrecks are down come back. So I don't know about the statistics with Mega Creeps, but this looks very, very unlikely statistically speaking. But I also believe in Rattlesnake. I really like their playstyle, their aggression, and now Alchemist is just going into Roshan.
that Spectre's down. This is their only chance. But luckily, it's a pretty big one. They get Aegis, they get Cheese. Question is, what do they drop for it? They still want that Basher because of his amazing attack speed. I mean, he's attacking over twice per second right now, easily. And it's going to get big. But goes for the Cheese here. The Aegis is picked up on Gyro, so they don't avoid either of them. But right now, Gyrocopter doesn't have a TP. Fortunately for him, he's probably going to have plenty of time spent in base. He's not going to have to really worry about jumping back to the safety of his very, very essential buildings, because literally that's what he's going to be camping for the next, I don't know, 5 minutes or something, until they can hope for Zenith to slip up. They can hope for Zenith to dive in, lose all their heroes, and they can just push him for the win, literally killing 1 Rax and then going straight for the tier 4, straight for the throne.
They have the damage for that, definitely. But they also need the fight for that, and at the moment, Mega Creeps are dealing so much damage. The Leshrac keeps running back to base and now picked up a 4-star, but support heroes can't do anything against Mega Creeps because they just get killed. So they need, if they want to push out, if they win a team fight, let's say they win a team fight big time, if they want to go for the GG, they need at least 2 heroes to deal with the Mega Creeps.
That is a tough order for them to try to take here, but we'll see exactly if it works out. Right now, 3,800 on Spectre. She bought out the BOTs, but otherwise it's just keeping that buyback. The most essential thing for her right now is keeping active in the fights. I was talking about the Defender's Advantage a little bit before we broke out, but what I was talking about there was the fact that Alchemist and Gyrocopter can't push in and expect themselves to have 2 lives, other than the Aegis and the Cheese. Because buybacks, they're going to buy back in their own base. They don't get to do that on the front lines. They don't get to do that in the Radiant enemy territory. But Zenith do. They have Haunt, they have Recall. They can buy back twice and still be up on these front lines, 7v5.
There's no sentry. They can't see this coming.
Oh, well, Spectre is out.
Put a sentry up.
They know that Spectre's not by herself. They know it.
Yeah, obviously. It's too obvious. But there is a Hex up on Visage. I don't know how far along it has been up there, but that's certainly gonna help. And now, oh god, if I was in Rattlesnake's shoes, I'd just die of a heart attack because this is just so full of pressure.
Yeah, the second...
They can lose within seconds now.
Magnus, Tidehunter, eyes on them. Where are they at? We see XY getting caught in the center of everything. Bursted down hard. She's going to drop. She has to buy back to haunt back in. She's going to reality right on top of Luo here trying to do the damage, but no. Yeah, there she is. Going on in. Right on top of Luo. There is going to be the Gust. There's the Defusal. Logging on Gyrocopter. They will get the kill here. He does have Aegis, and then buyback after that. So 3 lives for the Gyrocopter, but Luo right now disabled up. There's the Skewer. Logging down for the RP number 1. Going in for the RP number 2. Nice Force Staff. Pulling him apart, but he picks them right off and sandwiching them together. Ravage comes on through. Second Ravage available. Buyback from the Alchemist. Buyback from the Gyrocopter. They're back in this. Cheese still up on Luo. They want to hold the line. The tier 4 is dropping rapidly. They just go for the throne. They go for the GG. Big flat cannon. Right click coming on through. Now we see Luo up in there. He actually gets halberded up. Can't do anything. Yamate taking big hits. Gets a nice Ravage off on everybody though. Skewering together. They get him across. Icy gonna take a fall here, and that's a full team wipe. That is gonna be the game. GG called out. An amazing game. 67 minutes. Zenith take game 2.
Wow, what can I say? What can I say? There was a nice chance of coming back for Rattlesnake, but in the end, Zenith just with those refreshers, with the Spectre, with the ability Spectre has, just able to take it down. And we're gonna see a game 3, and I'm really interested if we're gonna see another Alchemist in there. So I can't wait to get into that game 3.
Absolutely. That was just insane. That was a ridiculous match between these two amazing teams. Rattlesnake took game 1 off, but Zenith doesn't let them pull a fast one on them. They move forward, and despite a very similar draft coming in Rattlesnakes, they play a different style. They get Spectre to late game, and this carry cannot be beaten. I'll see the day when maybe Dusa comes on the board, but for right now, Spectre takes that late game by storm, does a major impact, does such pain on the supports, still ending the game at level 16, level 17 with 10 deaths apiece. But the big thing there is, of course, the backbone, Tidehunter and Magnus, all the disables in the world. Beautiful play by Ice, grouping them together no matter what they tried. They tried beautiful Force Staffs to pull apart despite being disabled. They almost got it, but Magnus just a little bit too good. Ice, pulling them together, getting all the disables in the world, and finishing this off for the win. Beautiful game. Happy. It was my honor to be able to cast this. This was one of the better games of Dota. As far as clutch late game, you can't get better. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning on in to Beyond the Summit for this AMD Premier League Game 2. Going on into the 3rd game in just a minute here, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the commentary. I myself am Blaze. You can check me out on twitter.com/blazecasting, and you can check out Maruna here, my co-caster, at twitter.com/Maruna_Dota. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and yeah, we'll move on into this final game.